Ever find yourself just staring at a freshly painted ceiling and wondering, like, why white? It's
Yeah.
so common, we just got to take it for granted.
Right.
So today, we're diving into this blog post I found, really got me thinking. It's called Why Ceiling is Typically Painted in White,
Okay.
from KeonMeng.org,
Interesting.
written by an old software plumber,
Okay.
which I got to admit, made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's part of this larger series on home improvement, so not really your typical source for design theory.
Definitely unexpected. But
Yeah,
sometimes those kind of outsider perspectives, they offer like unique insights.
exactly. And plus, there's this intriguing photo in the post. A room, mid-paint, ceiling bright white, walls this soft cream.
Huh.
And the author mentions that it reminded him of condensed milk,
Okay.
which sparked his curiosity about why this combo is so common.
Yeah.
He realized his own house followed the same pattern, and it made him wonder about the history and the reasoning behind it. So today we're going beyond just the aesthetics. We're going to explore like the practicality,
Mhm.
the history, and maybe even like the psychology of the white ceiling.
It's more than just a blank canvas up there.
Right. So the author dives right into his personal experience, noticing this pattern in his own home, this white ceiling, light wall thing. And he quickly discovers one of the main reasons for the prevalence of white ceilings is just cost effectiveness.
Makes sense. White paint generally the cheapest, especially when covering a large area like a ceiling. But there's going to be more to it than just budget, right?
He talks about how effectively white reflects light, making rooms feel brighter and larger,
Hmm.
which is something I've always intuitively known but never really thought about, like the actual science of it.
Well, it comes down to physics. Different colors, they absorb and reflect different wavelengths of light. White reflects almost the entire spectrum of light. So that means more light bounces back into the room, making it feel brighter. Darker colors, they absorb more light, which makes the space feel dimmer.
Okay.
So a white ceiling, it's like amplifying both natural and artificial light sources, making the room feel more spacious and just more welcoming, I guess.
Wow, that's a much clearer explanation than I could have ever given. So it's not just the color itself, it's how it interacts with light and impacts our perception of the space.
Exactly.
Pretty fascinating.
And this principle has been understood and utilized for centuries, even before, like the widespread availability of electric lighting and stuff.
That makes me think about, older buildings and homes. What did they do before mass-produced white paint? Were there other ways to achieve that light, that airy feel?
You've hit on a key point. Historically, unpainted ceilings, that was the norm. Think
Yeah.
about like medieval castles or early American homes. The building materials themselves, the exposed beams, plaster, brick, that dictated the look and feel of the ceiling.
So it's not that people didn't appreciate light and spaciousness back then, it's just that they had different methods and different aesthetics.
Exactly. The author specifically mentions materials like gypsum, which is a key component in plaster,
Okay.
and cornice compound, which is used for decorative moldings. Both these materials are naturally white or off-white.
So they were already achieving a similar effect to white paint, just with different materials.
Precisely. Now, with mass-produced paint, white just became the more accessible and affordable option.
Yeah.
And its light-reflecting properties made it just a very popular choice, especially as electric lighting became more and more common.
Right.
It was a perfect storm, I guess, of practicality and technology and evolving aesthetics.
So I'm guessing that shift from unpainted to painted ceilings, that kind of coincided with other changes in society with technology.
Absolutely. We'll delve deeper into that, like historical context a bit later. But for now, let's think about the modern implications. Today, we have so many more options, right? We can stick with the classic white, we can embrace the unpainted look, or even explore like bolder colors and finishes for our ceilings.
That's a great segue to another point. The author brings up the alternative of unpainted ceilings. He talks about appreciating the natural look of materials like that gypsum and cornice compound. He even compares it to choosing a textured canvas over a blank one.
I like that. It really highlights that ceiling treatment. It's as much of a design choice as it is a practical consideration.
Yeah.
We can choose to celebrate the inherent beauty of those building materials, or we can use paint to create a very specific look and feel.
But it's not just aesthetics, right? Unpainted ceilings might have some practical advantages in certain situations.
Yeah, for example, they can be a good choice for spaces with high ceilings where painting might be like a logistical challenge, or, in the situations where you want to create a more rustic, industrial, or historic vibe.
That's interesting. But I'm also wondering about like potential downsides. Are unpainted ceilings harder to maintain? Do they attract more dust, show stains more easily?
Those are all important considerations, and we'll definitely explore those pros and cons of both painted and unpainted ceilings a little bit later.
Okay, so we've covered some of the practical aspects,
Mm.
but I'm really intrigued by this idea that ceiling color could have psychological effects. Earlier you mentioned color psychology and how different colors can like evoke different emotions.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Of course, it's a fascinating field. For example, blue, it's often associated with calmness and tranquility, right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's such a popular choice for bedrooms. Yellow, on the other hand, is associated with happiness and energy, making it a good choice for kitchens or dining areas where you want to create like a more social and vibrant atmosphere.
So it's not just about what looks good. It's about how different colors make us feel and even behave differently, potentially.
Exactly. And this applies to ceilings just as much as walls.
Okay.
Imagine a bedroom, right, with a dark, oppressive ceiling. It might make you feel claustrophobic or anxious,
Yeah.
but a light, airy ceiling could create a sense of openness and relaxation, which, promotes better sleep.
That makes me think about spaces like hospitals or schools. Wouldn't like a calming blue or green ceiling be more beneficial in those environments than like a bright red ceiling?
Absolutely. There's actually a growing body of research that supports this idea that color can impact healing, learning, and even productivity. Some hospitals are incorporating color therapy into their designs using calming hues to create a more soothing and therapeutic environment.
Wow, I never realized how much thought goes into something as seemingly simple as ceiling color.
Mm.
It's like there's this whole hidden language that we're just starting to understand.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, are we consciously harnessing the power of color in our homes, in our workplaces, or are we just, sticking with what's familiar?
I know I've never really given it much thought before. I default to white without considering the potential impact on mood or behavior.
I think that's pretty common. But now that we're, aware of these psychological effects, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities for us.
So you're suggesting we all ditch the white ceilings and start experimenting with bolder colors?
Not necessarily. White still has its place, especially in spaces where you want to create a sense of spaciousness and neutrality.
Right.
But I think the key takeaway is to be mindful of the potential impact of color and make choices that align with the function and feeling you want to create in that space.
That's a great point. It's not about following trends or rules. It's about understanding the tools we have and using them intentionally.
Exactly.
Mm.
And I think that brings us to a final provocative thought for our listeners to ponder.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it? What's the big takeaway here?
Well, we've talked about practical and aesthetic considerations of ceilings, but perhaps the most intriguing aspect is this connection to psychology and how color can subtly influence our moods, our behaviors, and even our cognitive processes.
Okay.
So I want to leave you with this question. How might the color of your ceilings be shaping your experience of the world without you even realizing it?
Whoa, that's pretty deep. It really makes you stop and think, huh? It's like we've been living in these spaces, surrounded by these colors, but never fully, like, appreciating their potential impact.
It's amazing what happens when you start exploring these everyday topics. It
Yeah.
forces you to, re-examine those assumptions and see the world with fresh eyes.
Totally. I know I'm already looking at my own ceilings differently now. I have this soft yellow in my dining room.
Uh-huh.
And I'm wondering, does it like subconsciously make me feel more relaxed
Yeah.
and sociable when I'm having dinner with friends and family?
It's certainly possible, and that's what I encourage everyone listening to do. Take a look around your own homes, your workplaces, even public spaces. Pay attention to those ceiling colors and just think about how they might be influencing your mood, your behavior, your thoughts even.
It's like this whole new layer of awareness has just been unlocked.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, how can we use this knowledge to create spaces that are not only aesthetically pleasing, but also psychologically beneficial?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's something that architects and designers and even psychologists are increasingly exploring. There's a lot of exciting research happening in the field of environmental psychology, looking at how our surroundings impact our well-being.
So it's not just about picking a color you like.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the potential impact of that color
Yeah.
and using it strategically to create the desired atmosphere.
Exactly. For example, if you're designing a home office, right?
Right.
You might want to choose a ceiling color that promotes focus and concentration,
Right.
rather than one that encourages, relaxation or sleepiness.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
And it also highlights the importance of personal preference and individual responses to color. What works for one person might not work for another.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all solution here.
Yeah.
The key is to be aware of the possibilities and to, experiment, try different colors, and see what feels best for you in that particular space.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this unexpected world of white ceilings, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say this. Don't underestimate the power of color, especially when it comes to ceilings. It's a design element that's often overlooked, but it has the potential to significantly impact our experience of a space. So next time you're painting or renovating, just take a moment to consider the color of your ceiling. How might it be shaping your mood, your behavior, your overall well-being? You might be surprised at the difference it makes.
That's such a great point. It's like we've been given this secret weapon to create spaces that are not only beautiful but also supportive of our mental and emotional health. I know I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to ceilings from now on.
Me too. It's amazing how such a seemingly mundane topic can lead to such a rich and insightful discussion.
Well, that's the beauty of the deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah,
We take the everyday and turn it into an opportunity for discovery and exploration.
absolutely. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of white ceilings. We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have.
And that you'll join us next time for another fascinating exploration into the unexpected depths of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Until then, keep looking up and keep those minds curious.
How might the color of your ceilings be shaping your experience of the world without you even realizing it?
We've talked about history and practicality, aesthetics, and even the psychological effects of color, but
Yeah.
I think there's one more layer to this whole ceiling thing.
Oh,
I think it's about cultural influences.
okay.
We touched on how different historical periods and technological advancements played a role in the rise of white ceilings.
Yeah.
But what about different cultures around the world?
Yeah.
Have they always embraced the white ceiling, or are there other traditions, other preferences at play?
That's a great point. We've been so focused on the Western perspective that we haven't even considered how other cultures might approach ceiling design.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking about traditional Japanese architecture, for example, with its emphasis on natural materials and that connection to nature.
Right.
Would they embrace a stark white ceiling, or would they opt for something that reflects their values and their aesthetics?
That's a really good question, and honestly one that I don't have the answer to right now.
Yeah.
It would require some more research. But I'm willing to bet that there are some fascinating cultural variations when it comes to ceiling treatments.
Yeah. Imagine like intricate patterns and vibrant colors,
Yeah.
even symbolic motifs that are integrated into the ceiling design. It's like a whole world just waiting to be discovered.
And it just highlights that something as seemingly simple as a ceiling, it can be a reflection of a culture's values, beliefs, their artistic sensibilities.
Exactly. It's not just a functional surface.
Yeah.
It's a canvas for cultural expression.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a really, really interesting thought for our listeners to consider.
Okay, let's hear it.
Think about the ceilings you encounter in your daily life. At home, at work, even in public spaces.
Yeah.
Don't just see them as these blank surfaces. See them as cultural artifacts, as expressions of history, of practicality, and even psychology. And maybe, just maybe, this newfound awareness will inspire you to look beyond the white and explore, the endless possibilities of ceiling design.
I love that. So well said. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into this unexpected world of white ceilings. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have.
And that you'll join us next time for another fascinating journey into the depths of the everyday. Until then, keep looking up and keep those minds curious.